So let's get started. So hello again, everyone. Welcome to the 24th webinar in Dalgo's webinar series. Today, I would be talking with Bhumi, who I'm sure most of you have heard of the excellent work that Bhumi is doing in the areas of youth empowerment in the south of India. And today we have Anusha with us from Bhumi. And today we'll be taking the time to learn about their story and how Bhumi went from data chaos to data confidence. So just a little introduction about your host today. Today, me, Rito Broto, I have the pleasure of hosting this conversation. And I am a data engineering consultant here at Project Tech for Dev. And I have Anusha with me from Bhumi, who is an executive assistant to the co-founder and who also looks after the data and tech vertical at Bhumi. And today's webinar is presented to you from Dalgo. Dalgo is an data insights platform designed specifically for the nonprofit sector. So, okay, folks. So let's start off with a quick poll. So the poll question is, let's read it together. Are you able to effectively use the data that you collect for your decision making today? So you will see the poll pop up in front of you on your Zoom window. So the question is, are you able to effectively utilize the data that you collect? The data could be your program data, the field data, the data that is coming in that you're collecting. How effectively are you using it for your decision making? Let's spend a minute to respond to the poll quickly, folks. I can see 8 of you have already responded. Would encourage others to give this a minute of thought and really reflect on how effectively do you believe you are really using the data in your decision making? Because we all, as non-profit organizations, we all want to make data the central focus of our decision making processes. But however, we often end up using it to various degrees of effectiveness. So what would you say in your organization? And I'm assuming that most of you would be from the data and tech teams, M&E teams of your respective organization. So how much do you believe, with what degree of effectiveness are you utilizing that data for your decision making? Okay. So I can see that most of you have said, responded. So 13 of you have already responded. I would encourage the rest of you to quickly respond to the poll. And in the meantime, from the results I can see, most of you have marked either mostly, meaning that you mostly make effective use of your data, and others have marked rarely, that you rarely make effective use of your data. So we are collecting data, but however, what I'm sensing is that we often fall short of effective usage of that data. So yeah, I would just encourage others to keep responding to the poll. And we have the results here. Quickly, I will show you the results. As you can see, that it seems most of us feel that we are not using our data to the degree of effectiveness that we could have used. So I would just like to quickly share what our observation has been, being that the flagship data partner of the non-profit sector in India. Is that in our work with many organizations, we have worked with 25 plus organizations from all across the non-profit spectrum. And what we have really understood is that there is a real sense of urgency when it comes to wanting folks to utilize their data as a central focus of the decision making. However, we often fall short of that, and we have seen that there is a myriad of reasons of this happening. It could be anything like lack of funding or lack of technical capacity, and even something sometimes that there is not a data driven culture mindset. It's that the mindset is lacking in the organization itself, and people put data as a second afterthought. So there's a myriad of reasons that happens, but most often what we have seen is that many organizations conclude that they need a platform, a tool of some sort to figure out their data strategy. And maybe if they have the tool, then they often believe that they would be able to get to that point of effectiveness, that data confidence in their decision making. However, from our observation, what we have observed is that often it's not just about a platform, but really what they want is an ecosystem of support when it comes to adopting data tools for effective decision making. And with that, we would now transition to understanding Bhumi's story, how Bhumi also started from that same point of data chaos. And from there, with their expanding number of programs, what kind of data challenges were they facing, and then how did they deal with those challenges, and how we at Dalgo were able to help them sort out their data strategies and also help them in building self-reliance in their own organization. And finally, once we go over Bhumi's story, we would also open up the floor for any questions and Q&As that you folks might have, and we'll be open to answering them. And with that, I would like to invite Anusha, my co-host today from Bhumi, to introduce us to the work that Bhumi does. Anusha, over to you.
Thank you, Ritu. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today at this webinar. Um, I'd like to introduce Bhumi. Bhumi was founded in 2006, and when we started, we actually started as a group of volunteers who were delivering some education programs in a shelter home in Chennai. It's a small group of volunteers, and they were teaching English and math and computers in a shelter home in Chennai. And we're very proud that even after Bhumi is almost an adult now, 18 years in August. And in the last 18 years, the core of our philosophy has remained the same. Our focus still remains volunteering, promoting volunteering in a big way, and working on challenges that are faced in the education sector. Particularly, we work with a lot of government schools in Chennai and with shelter homes in government schools in Tamil Nadu and with shelter homes across India. So our mission is to help children and young adults learn, lead, and thrive. We have a host of education programs that work with children from grade 2 all the way into graduation and provide scholarships and help with skilling for placement and such. And in the last year, and I'm talking about 2024-25, not 25-26, we reached more than 250 schools, 150,000 children and youths, and almost 2 lakh volunteers. The UN SDGs that we focus on are shared on the right. So this is about Bhumi. Uh, so coming to our data context, like starting as a small team in 2006, just a group of volunteers working in one shelter home, you can see that the growth means that there has been a lot of organic growth in along various dimensions. We started many programs. Some of them continued in the same way. Some of them evolved a lot. So we have gathered a lot of data, and the data is obviously important to us, like for every other NGO here. We need the data to report back to our donors. In our case, we also take reporting to our volunteers very seriously to show them a mirror as to the effect that they are creating through their work. And of course, we need to track the efficiency of our program to course correct wherever we need. So we track metrics on a very regular basis, quarterly, monthly, so that we can identify if a program is faltering in some way or there's some intervention needed to make changes. And who uses the data? Again, all of you are probably familiar with this. Our program teams use the data to course correct. Our reporting teams use the data to share the impact that we've had through our work with stakeholders. And the leadership uses the data to make strategic shifts as and when required. And we use the data through regular reviews. I mentioned quarterly and monthly reviews. We do status checks within the teams, which can be even weekly, to check whether we are tracking well towards our goals, if there is any changes required in how we are working in our programs, thus measuring the effectiveness of our initiatives at the ground level. And let's talk about what are the key challenges that we face. Now, like I mentioned, since we grew organically and we work with a lot of volunteers, data gets collected by different people in different formats, saved in different ways. So we did not have any single source of truth when we wanted data. So if someone's working on a spreadsheet, somebody's made a copy, worked on it, which means we have two different versions now. We have to reconcile that somehow. And because we work with a lot of volunteers, and even our program teams are innovating on the ground every day, we encourage them to innovate and to try out different things. The formats in which the data is collected also varies greatly, and we end up losing a lot of time in consolidating all that information, cleaning it up, you getting it into a format where the data can be summarized effectively for reporting. Having different sources of truth also means that reporting is inconsistent, right? Some teams have a certain view of the data, they're aggregating it differently, which means that if we just ask, like, what is the total number of children that we reached in a year, we could come up with two different answers depending on which source of data that you're looking at. And that's a very fundamental problem to have. And because of all these challenges, we were not able to analyze our data in real time to inform us of where we are going wrong or what needs to change, and what metrics are we tracking, is the metric itself being measured in the correct manner. So every time this required a certain amount of reworking, getting teams to agree on where the data is and whether it is correct. So it was very hard to have analysis of the data that made sense and that could be relied on for consistency, over time. So when we were thinking of, what we want in terms of having a data solution, we had these four main criteria in mind. One is, of course, automation, because there can be multiple sources of data coming in. If we have volunteers working in 100 shelter homes across India, then all of that data has to flow into one central place. So that we had to consolidate multiple sources of data into a single place through automation. And the numbers that we see should be consistent. Whoever is looking at the data, if we are able to consolidate the source, you're going to see one single number, say, for the total number of children that we've reached through our programs. So this number needs to be accurate and consistent, and not something that we are not able to rely on. If we see a number and we're always doubting, did we miss something or is something double counted, there is a problem. The next main thing was that we wanted a way to slice and dice our data along multiple dimensions. An example would be, some members of the team might be more keen on seeing the data aggregated by location. Some members of the team will be more interested in seeing that data aggregated by, say, subject, like someone is teaching English, someone wants to see it by Chennai location, someone wants to see it in compare to data across 2 different years. For the same kind of data, you're looking at time as the dimension along which you want to compare your information. So we wanted to have the ability to slice our data in different ways and extract different levels of granularity depending on where you're at. So for example, if it's someone who's working on the field, they want very highly granular data to inform their work and their decision making, whereas someone at the leadership level wants it much more aggregated and not that level of granularity, because they are making more strategic decisions and not operational decisions. And this also goes into having role-based reporting, where depending on your role, you're seeing the level of data that you want to see and that makes sense to you to inform your decisions in your day-to-day work. So these were our main considerations when it came to picking a tool. So, Rita, you want to take over?
Yeah, thank you, Anusha, for the introduction. So, folks, just now, Anusha talked about the key data challenges that an organization like Bhumi, operating at such a large scale, is facing. But I'm sure that many of you, irrespective of the volume at which your organization operates, many of you might be facing the same sort of challenges when it comes to making sure that you are able to derive confidence from the data that you are collecting. So, what would you say? How many of you would say that you resonate with the same sort of challenges that Bhumi is facing? And which of these challenges would you say is most relevant to your organization? If you could just put a couple of lines along those in the chat, that would be great. So I would encourage everyone to just spend a minute to put down in the chat which of those challenges that we mentioned resonates most with the context that your organization operates in, and the volume that your organization operates in, and which of these challenges are you most excited to solve. Now, from our perspective, whenever we, as I said, that in our work with 25 plus NGOs throughout the non-profit sector, what we have observed is that, as I mentioned before, that many organizations believe that they need a magic tool which helps them to solve these data challenges. However, when we are talking about data challenges, which will get us from the data chaos part, there are many considerations that we'll have to think about. So let's say I am an NGO, and when I am thinking about maybe adopting a new tool, from what we have observed is that many NGOs, the considerations, there are trade-offs that they have to deal with. And the main trade-offs that we have seen NGOs talk about is, number one is capacity, internal capacity. Many NGOs say that, well, yes, we would like a new tool to solve these issues, but we just don't have that capacity to be able to utilize that tool. Second is skill set. Many NGOs say that we are non-profit organizations. We work in, let's say, anything from menstrual hygiene to education. Where would we have the engineering capacity to be able to configure such a tool? And then third is, every single NGO that we have ever worked with, they have all said that we are already overworked, we are already short on hands, we already have so much to deliver to our beneficiaries. We do not have that extra effort that is required in order to adopt such a tool. And then lastly, the question that leadership often ask the data team members of organizations is that, what would be the time to value? So the organizations, they come to us, then they say that, okay, there's a tool. You also have a tool. There are many other tools in the market, but when do we see the value? How quick do we see it? How quick do we see that value? And then what we realize from this conversation is that there's need to make a right trade-off when it comes to getting to that level of data confidence quickly. Because of course we want to go from data confidence to data confidence from that point of data chaos, and it is a journey, of course, and we are constantly working towards it, and there always will be data challenges no matter which, what scale you operate in, and there always will be trade-offs that you will have to consider. But the point here is that how fast can we get to that level of data confidence that we want to? And keeping all this in mind, what we realized is that NGOs don't just need new tools, because there are already a myriad of tools in the market. As I said before, that what organizations really need and what we believe is that they need this ecosystem of support that I was talking about to get them to that level of data confidence quickly. And hence why we at Dalgo, what we thought of that, we already have a tool in place. Many of you might already know of Dalgo, which is our data insights tool. But then again, that the ecosystem of support is what is missing in the nonprofit sector. So that is why we decided to come up with an offering called Dalgo Consulting. And this Dalgo Consulting is what we're essentially trying to do is give you that ecosystem of support around those tools to help you get to data confidence quickly. Now, a few salient features that I would like to quickly talk about as to how Dalgo Consulting aims to help you solve these problems that most NGOs face is number one, that we provide personalized expertise. Of course, our consultants are highly experienced engineers, but often NGOs, more than engineering expertise, what NGOs need is, from what we have realized, is they need personalization. So that they don't have to mold their programs to adopt to the tool, but rather the tool adopts to their programs. And then also in the non-profit space, there are several constraints in which we operate, whether it comes to budget or the way that we use our data or the reporting needs, everything taken into consideration. It's very different from how a for-profit or the corporate tech space works like. Right. So this non-profit expertise is also something that we believe that our NGO partners will benefit from. And this non-profit expertise is also something Dalgo consultants bring to the table. Thirdly is that as I talked about, that most often we have heard from NGO leadership is about the questions around what kind of effort would you require to do this. How many hours are required, how many days do we need, how many months do we need to get to value, to have something to show, to put the tool to actual use. Now, that is why here at Dalgo Consulting, we moved away from the concept of focusing on the rate, focusing on the effort, to focusing on the outcomes. So what we are trying to do is we give our NGO partners a list of outcomes that they can choose, and then we charge a fixed rate for the list of outcomes. So therefore, even if so that the headache of having to judge the effort required is taken off from their head, and we take it on ourselves to deliver those outcomes at a fixed rate. And fourthly is through Dalgo Consulting, it is our constant effort to help you build internal capacity within your organization to make you self-reliant. Because at the end of the day, our aim is to help organizations be self-reliant and take complete control of their data processes to achieve that level of data confidence. Now, we would go back to Bhumi. In the first section, we talked about what were Bhumi's data challenges, and then many of you also shared the data challenges that you are facing as well. Now, I will again invite Anusha to talk about how Bhumi dealt with those data challenges and how we here at Dalgo are able to contribute to the journey of theirs. So yeah, Anusha, over to you.
Thank you, Ritu. So what challenges I spoke of in the previous section, they were really very beautifully addressed by Dalgo. When we came across Dalgo, we could see the benefit of a tool like Dalgo. Like I explained, we have data coming in from multiple sources, and Dalgo gave us a way to consolidate it all through different data pipelines, bring it all flowing into one data warehouse, which we could use as our one-stop reporting tool and one source of truth that I said. The second thing, which was really, really important for us, is that we did not want to disrupt our teams in their day to day work. So the teams could continue to use their current processes and tools with very minor changes in terms of the format of the data or the structure of the data, where we gave them some guidelines as to how to, say, for example, design your Excel sheets so that it lends itself well to being imported in an automated fashion into Dalgo, but they could continue using whatever tools they were using. Of course, it's another challenge to improve the tool itself over a period of time, but for the time being, we are not disrupting our teams in their day to day work, which was a very important consideration for us. The third thing is something that I spoke about before, that we needed different levels of summary, different ways of slicing and dicing our data, which is available in the way Dalgo structures, the data, the schema, the way it gets into Dalgo. We could design it in a way that made it easy for us to summarize the data in the way that we wanted it to be summarized. And of course, the integration with Superset meant that we had a wide range of visualization tools at our disposal to view our data in a way that made sense to us, in a way that it was useful to draw insight from the data that we had collected and make the data work for us in terms of making informed decisions. So how did we work with Dalgo and leverage their expertise in enabling us to make our data work for us? So at this point, I'll also give some context that Bhumi does have a tech team. We are a 3-member strong tech team. I have a background in tech. I used to be a product manager. I understand data, databases, collection, how data is collected, how to summarize it. And we have a business analyst and a developer. Sangeeta is our business analyst and Irshad is our developer. And we're all familiar with technology. So when we came to Dalgo, we had our own schema in mind, and we said, "Oh, look, this is the data we have, and this is the schema I think is going to work for us. This is how we want to, how do I put it, consolidate our data into one place." And Dalgo immediately, or Ritabhrato immediately worked with us to help us see why what we wanted may not make sense, both from the perspective of how well the tool is used, as well as how well our data gets summarized when we are using the tool. So he helped us redesign and relook at the way we were looking at our data based on our reporting needs and the kind of data that Bhumi was bringing in, which meant that we ended up with a data summary schema that was really efficient for our reporting. So this is the first place where we thought, okay, this makes sense. We know that we understand technology and we have a tech team that is aware of tech, but Ritubrato still brought in the expertise both from the point of view of using the tool as well as understanding Bhumi's context and adapting it for the tool to work well for us. The second thing that really helped was getting training and working one-on-one with the Dalgo team so that our team was able to build capacity and understand how to use the tool better. So we worked one-on-one with the Dalgo team at one of the workshops that happened in Bangalore. And that was a very, very useful session for us. And what happened was initially involving the Dalgo team in helping us build the first, schema design and importing the data and building our first dashboard. It meant that we had a template. We had something that we could use as an example and adapt all our other requirements based on that. So we had a kind of an example to follow, which made it easier for us to work internally and independently in bringing in some of our other data into Dalgo. So while Ritabrata was working on the data for one program, Irshad took up another program's information, slightly simpler, so that we could gain confidence in using the tool. And the third thing that I think is really important is also related to what Ritabrata said about time to value, right? So if we say started using subscribe to Dalgo as a SaaS platform and we started using it, and when you don't gain momentum in seeing results, it can often leave you frustrated. So we realized that seeing that momentum was important not only for us, but also to show our program teams as to what is possible with the tool so that they all are also eager and enthusiastic in their adoption of the tool. So when we were able to quickly turn around and build a dashboard and show the program teams, look, this is what is possible if you use this tool and if you're able to work with us so that our data can be imported into this tool and you can visualize it this way, the adoption or the excitement to adopt it or the enthusiasm to adopt it was significantly higher. So that momentum really helped us. And it's the Dalgo team's expertise that gave us the momentum. If we were not working with them, learning side by side, but also using their expertise to help our data work for us very quickly, I think it would have been a cause for some amount of frustration. So I'll talk about how we engaged with the Dalgo team, Ritabrata in particular, for capacity building. So we were onboarded onto the platform in July, and Ritabrata and his team spent a fair amount of time understanding the kind of data that we want to bring in and what is the entire landscape like. And we worked on internally defining what is our long-term vision in adopting this tool. And we explained our vision and where we wanted to be at the end of the year to the Dalgo team, who also enthusiastically took that up as a challenge. But as a proof of concept, we decided to work with the data from our fellowship team for their assessments, their baseline, midline, and endline assessment for students in foundational literacy and numeracy. So we started that as the first project that we would build out the dashboard for that. So, and then once this was identified, like we had the universe of Bhumi's data problem and we had the long-term vision, but we identified what is the immediate problem that we were going to solve. Ritabrata helped us in designing the architecture for our needs. We explained what is the kind of information or insights that we want from this data. And we integrated the data sources and built out the dashboards for the fellowship team. And then in September, we had a 3-day in-person, bootcamp exchange with the Dalgo team, where we learned to use the tool in a much better manner. We learned how to code using DBT with guidance from Ritabrata, which was extremely useful because it gave us a lot of confidence in being able to use the tool ourselves for smaller problems, maybe something that was not so complex. And we also, at various stages, consulted with the team to validate our design or to validate our choices of how we were building the schema or how we were summarizing the data or what kind of cleaning cleaning routines that we were writing for the data. We always engaged with them, and Ritabrata was very generous with his time and helped us fine tune it so that we increasingly gain confidence in how to use the tool ourselves. So the where we stand right now is that our tech team is fairly self-sufficient. We are able to build out our own dashboards, build out the pipelines, write the transformations, but we still work with the Dalgo team for momentum. Like I said, we had a goal that we wanted to reach for the end of the year, and the Dalgo team has been working with us to help us achieve that goal and also support us side by side in the choices that we are making when it comes to writing our data pipelines. So this is an example of a dashboard that we had built because all our data was in Excel sheets, at least for the fellowship program. The data was in Excel sheets, and this was a dashboard that was built with Google Data Studio. And the challenge we had with this was there was a lot of inconsistency in the data. Like fellow names would appear differently in different sheets. School names would appear differently in different sheets. Even city names at sometimes would be different in different sheets. There was missing data. There's actually some null entries, which we actually, this is a cleaned up sheet after we saw, the feedback from the one of the analysis that the Dalgo team helped us do that this is all missing data. We need to fix that. So then if we didn't have the tool to help us clean up the data, help us see what was missing, what data is not aligning itself properly to the program information or the the superset, or how do I put it, the universe, or the main set of the program, school names, fellow names, all of that. It helped us clean up the data, and this was how the dashboard looked like. And once we got the data into Dalgo, you can see that we have not only the baseline information here, but we have midline and endline in one dashboard, which we were finding it a little difficult to do. And also comparisons. We have built out comparisons between what is the improvement of a student from baseline to midline to endline. All of this is definitely possible with an Excel sheet, but it does make it extremely complicated. And as you're dealing with increasing amounts of data, it gets unwieldy when you're using an Excel sheet or when you're using Google Looker Studio to build out these dashboards. So we are now using this dashboard for this you can see it's for 24, 25, but the same thing has been built out for 25 and 26 as well, given that we have an understanding of how to summarize the data, how to clean it up. It makes it easier for us to analyze our assessment data year on year. Yeah, so this is the newly built out dashboard using Dalgo. And another interesting thing is that this is live data, right? As the fellows are updating the Excel sheet with the information that they are, like every day there is some amount of assessments being done and they're updating the sheet. This dashboard will update itself live. You can see how much of the reading comprehension dashboard is completed. You can now drill down further and see if there are specific schools where it's not completed, specific cities that are lagging in terms of completion of the assessment of baseline, midline, endline. So it helps us keep a live track on the situation. It helps program managers to follow up or take corrective action depending on where we are at in terms of achieving these goals. Yeah. So where we were before Dalgo, yes, cleaning up. So most of our data sits in Google Sheets, in applications that were built using Zoho Creator, or in applications that have a PostgreSQL database in the backend. Another thing I'd like to mention here is that there was no connector for us to be able to pull data from Zoho Creator. So we explained to the Dalgo team that a lot of our information is sitting in these apps that we have built on Zoho Creator, and they built a connector for pulling information from Zoho Creator, which is open source and now available for everyone to use. If you have built tools on Zoho Creator, then you can use that connector to pull your data in from there. So starting here, we had Google Sheets, we had Zoho Creator, we had PostgreSQL backend for some tools, PostgreSQL was the backend. Before Dalgo, we would take about 2 days a month to clean up and consolidate the data if we were doing it for our monthly reporting. After Dalgo, this has reduced to, like, for example, just the assessment data. We don't spend so much time in cleaning it up. The tool helps us in cleaning up the data. There are some minor things that we go recheck manually, but that is reducing as the teams also become more smart in terms of how they're using the sheets, how they are, what kind of sanity checks they are following while entering the data. That learning is also improving in the teams. So now we are still in the process of building out all our dashboards and making our data give us insights. So the reporting turnaround, we are expecting that it will reduce from several days. Like if we had a monthly review to present to senior leadership or a quarterly review to present to senior leadership, it would take us 2 to 3 days time, sometimes more, to consolidate all the information and bring it in one place. But we expect that to be reduced to hours and not days. And we have a single source of truth, which means that all teams also understand now that for their data to be counted, it has to be visible in Dalgo, which means that they align their reporting in a way that lends itself well to getting the data into Dalgo. So we know now that we have a single source of truth. It's easier to get the organization on board to ensure that the data is flowing into this single source of truth, and which is also leading to a stronger culture of being data aware, of having that lens that you're looking at your data and thinking, I need to make this clean, I need to make this consistent, I need to do these things so that my data will eventually work for me. I think that culture is also getting built in the organization. So this is something that we're still working on. It's a work in progress, but these are the outcomes we expect.
Yeah, so thank you, Anusha, for taking us through the journey that Bhumi is now undertaking to develop their data strategies and data processes, and how we were also able to help them proceed in that journey. And now I would like to talk a little bit about, as also Anusha mentioned, about how Dalgo came in and adopted themselves to the needs of the organization. I would like to now shed some light as to how Dalgo does that process. How here we at Dalgo Consulting undertake that process of adopting ourselves to your organization needs and getting you from that stage of data chaos to helping you to get to that stage of data confidence in your journey faster. So the first step involving this is diagnosis. Of course, if you are going to tackle any problem, we'll have to first get a very in-depth understanding of what the problem is. So we start off by asking the right questions. So we sit down with you, we take a good measure of the entire data landscape, and also as Anusha was talking about, so this is the onboarding phase where we sit down with you, we have your those initial conversation, we ask those smart questions in order to uncover what your data landscape looks like, and collaboratively we design what our long-term and short-term goals would be like. So, and this is the very first step that we would take in order to get started on that journey towards data confidence. Now, once we have those goals in mind, once we have that understanding built, once we know what we want, then we go on to the next step of actually integrating the sources, writing the transformations. So by understanding your business logic, translating that into code and translating that transformations, and then building the visualization, the dashboards as per your needs, and then ultimately automating all the processes so as to finally get rid of all the repetitive effort. And this is the automate part. And now once you have automated your stuff, your data is coming in automatically, your business logic is running automatically, your dashboards are getting updated automatically. Now you have a concrete value to show to your leadership, to your beneficiaries. Then we go to step 3 of scaling. Now, now that we have fulfilled the short goal, once your short-term goal is fulfilled and you're able to showcase that value much more quicker to your leadership and your beneficiaries, then you get that level of confidence, which we believe would help you now scale your program. And here at Dalgo, we scale with you. So you can start off small with one of our introductory plans aligned to your organization's current needs. And as you see more value, if you choose to, you can then decide to scale your operations with Dalgo as your program needs grow. And with that, I would like to briefly talk about the tiered offering that we have came up with in order to help you achieve that scale. So as you know that Dalgo is in itself is a tool, and if you subscribe to just that tool, this would be the pricing that we were looking at. And However, as I talked about, we believe that it's not just about a tool, but what NGOs really would benefit from is an ecosystem of support. So we came up with a bundled offering by bundling our platform along with our consulting expertise, and we offer it in three distinct tiers. The basic tiers is for our customers who would like to maybe try out a few programs, one program, a couple of dashboards, and then once they see value, maybe they want to scale up later. The standard program is recommended for most NGOs who operate across a few different verticals, have a few different programs, and need to make dashboards for several levels of leadership. And then the advanced plan is for organizations who operate at a much larger scale across multiple national geographies, and who need custom tooling built for their needs. For them, we have the advanced tier, and of course, you can start off with any tier which is aligned to your organization's current needs as you believed. And once those outcomes are fulfilled as layout in that particular tier, you can then decide to scale up as per your growing organization needs. And we offer all this at this the flat cost that you see here. And if you want to know more about the costing and the breakdown of the offerings that we have, please feel free to get in touch with their team, the details of which we'll be sharing shortly. Now, I would again like to invite Anusha to talk about Bhumi's future plans on their data journey. And now that they are getting to that stage of data confidence, from here on forward, what more do they expect to do with their data?
Thanks, Roberto. When I was speaking about our engagement with Dalgo, I spoke about one of the goals that we had as an organization, and that goal is actually called Bhumi Compass. And like the name suggests, it's meant to be something that's going to guide our direction and help us make decisions as to how we're going to move forward. So we wanted to have every team and programs data consolidated and visualized on Dalgo and use that as the one stop for reporting, and also have that roll up into an org level dashboard where all the information from multiple programs is flowing into this system and is giving us a view at the organization level. So I think we are quite advanced in our journey in this journey. I think in the next couple of weeks we should have these dashboards ready and being used by the teams. So once that is done, we are looking forward to some of the features that I think Dalgo has spoken about in other webinars. There's an AI-enabled feature where you can chat with your data, where say even someone who doesn't have the technical language or doesn't have an understanding of what is a schema or what is a, why does this chart look the way it does, they can just talk to their data to gain insight. Makes it simpler. Like if I'm collecting information and then I want that information to inform me about my decisions, they should be able to just talk to that data, even if they don't have the technical expertise. So looking forward to that feature. The other feature that we're really looking forward to is reports on Dalgo. Like I mentioned, we do monthly reviews, quarterly reviews with every program. And right now there is a process where we are creating this deck for the leadership, pulling data together from multiple places and summarizing it all and putting it in a Google Slides presentation. It makes a lot more sense for this to be just a snapshot of the data that's available on Dalgo for that program on a particular date, make it a regular, and then add context and some more information to it, and then use that to have a conversation between the program teams and the leadership to guide our decision making, to inform us as to what we should do next or what we should do differently. So these are the two features that we are really looking forward to. And as things stand, even with Bhumi Compass, we envision that we will be making a lot more decisions that are informed by the data that we've collected and not based on a feeling or some other qualitative, information that we've collected. But we will have these dashboards that are being used regularly to tell us how our programs are doing, both at an operational level as well as to look at summarized information at a higher level to inform our strategic decisions. And it's also going to build that culture in the organization where everyone who's collecting data also goes back and uses that information to guide their day-to-day work. Over to you, Ritu.
Thank you, Anusha. So we are also very excitedly looking forward to continuing our collaboration with Bhumi and helping to fulfill the future plans that they have set up for themselves. And with that, I would like to thank everyone for attending the seminar. I would like to invite you all to check out our website and read about the different case studies and read about the work that we have done with other organizations as well. Also, if you would be interested to know more about the platform and our consulting offerings, please feel free to get in touch with us to get more information and book a call with us where we can sit down over a one-on-one conversation, which is absolutely free, charged at no cost, and help you understand how Dalgo might benefit your data use case. And thirdly, I would also invite you to subscribe to our monthly newsletter, where you can read all about the latest things that Dalgo has been up to. And with that, I would also like to announce the opening of Dalgo's Autumn Bootcamp. So, Dalgo Bootcamp is an event where we invite NGOs from all across the nonprofit spectrum to come and sit with us through a 2 day long intensive program, which is offered absolutely free of cost, where we offer 15 hours of expert-led data consulting with our NGO partners, and we also give you a 30-day trial of our Dalgo data platform. And if you choose to subscribe, you also get 1 month free on your subscription, on your Dalgo platform subscription. And this is a place where you can come in and you can build a prototype and really see the value that Dalgo can deliver for your data confidence journey. And our application is already open. Again, if you are interested, we'll be launching a poll in a minute where you can mark your interest, and we will reach out to you over email post the ending of this event. So I would welcome all of you if you are interested, if you would like to see the kind of value that Dalgo might be able to add to your organization over the period with these 2 days of boot camp that we'll be conducting in Bangalore in later this year. You can go back to your organization with a couple of solid dashboard to showcase to your leadership, and that would definitely, I'm sure, would help you get a better understanding of how the platform can help you. And now, with that, you should shortly see the poll. I would invite you all to respond to that poll and mark your interest, and we will reach out to you shortly after the ending of this event. And with that, we are opening up the floor for questioning. So please feel free to come off mute and ask your questions. We are here to help answer all your queries. I have my colleagues here with me as well. So please feel free to come off mute and share your queries. And also, if you'd like to post your queries over chat, we would also support you there. So yeah, the floor is open. Please, folks, let us know your queries.
Ritu, there is a question for you and Anusha both in the chat.
Yeah.
Anusha, you mentioned using Zoho Creator. Anil wants to know if there is a free alternative that you might possibly know of.
No, unfortunately, I don't know of a free alternative to Zoho Creator, which is like a application building platform. We use Zoho Creator for rapid prototyping to help us build applications that our team can use to collect information and visualize it. But I don't know of a free version or a free alternative.
So Zoho Creator, if you want to see how Zoho Creator might fit your use case, they actually have a 15-day trial that you can undertake that you can use to see if it helps you fit to your use case. And they also have a very user-friendly usage plan, which also has a very generous free tier. So that might also suffice for your use case. And then if you want to add additional users, then you can, what the offer is, instead of offering a fixed plan, they offer you tiers where if you want to add more users, you can just buy more user subscriptions. And so that as your organization scales, you can also scale your program and you can start off small from the free tier. Yeah.
There's one more question, thanks Ritu, by Anil only, who asked Anusha about if you can share about some of the use cases, data related use cases of Bhumi while you were talking through the dashboards as well. That would be helpful.
Anil, it would be helpful if you can qualify the question or give me a few more specifics. When you say use case examples, what kind of data we collect? We collect, say, information about our students, whether they are attending all the sessions, then even our volunteers, how many sessions are they conducting and that are happening on time as per schedule. Then we collect information about the students in terms of their baseline, midline, and endline assessments to see whether the the courses that we've delivered or the interventions that we've delivered are indeed improving their learning levels or not. Then we also work with fellows in our fellowship program. So we are collecting information about their work, whether they are able to deliver classes during the week as planned, whether they're able to go out and work in the community as planned. So there's a lot of information collected around this, which informs us as to whether our intervention in a particular government school is going on track or not. And when I say we're collecting data about students, say on a weekly basis, we're collecting attendance, we have to report this back to our donors as well, that these many classes were planned, these many classes were actually conducted, and in the conducted classes, this was the average attendance of the students. And there are other parameters that are measured in terms of how the classes are delivered, what is the engagement of the students, it's something that is measured. This is all the kind of data that we collect, and all of this needs to be used in a way to inform our decision making, for which we need visualization tools, summarization tools, and that's what we use Dalgo for. This is mostly in the education space. In the volunteering space, we conduct a lot of volunteering events, and we have certain structured volunteering programs where we expect or their volunteers commit to work with us for a period of 6 months or for a period of years, for a period of a year. And in both of these, we are measuring, how many volunteers are coming, what is the engagement like. We even get CSAT from our volunteers. Would they recommend Bhumi as a volunteering platform? What are the problems that they have? All of this information is being collected for our volunteering programs as well. And we ultimately report the total number of volunteers we've engaged, how many volunteering hours have gone into various programs. This is the kind of information, or these are the use cases. Does this answer your question, or am I way off track?
No, this totally answers, Nisha. Thank you so much. But I also wanted to know level-wise, like a small log, how could they be benefiting from Dalgo's product? So I just want to see use case-wise if they are able to, like for bifurcate, like small organization can benefit so and so. So does the mid and also Bhumi. So how does it affect each and every level of the organization or the capacity they hold? So I just want to see if we will be able to touch upon that with the use case example. So that's why I want to ask. But then your answer also helped. Thank you.
Great. There was also a question about Dalgo with Salesforce, and I think it's already been answered that. So we also use Salesforce, but we don't use it to collect transactional data. The transactional data, which is mainly the day-to-day working of our teams, is collected in Excel sheets or with tools built with Zoho Creator or something else which has PostgreSQL as a backend. We use Salesforce for something else, but it's great that we.
Sorry, I would also want to touch upon that. So you don't want to use it. I mean, you are not using it as a transactional data, but then is it as good as a repository data, or how does that help in your use case?
I mean, we are viewing Dalgo, or what Dalgo helps us create is our data warehouse, where all our transactional data over multiple years can actually sit, and we can analyze that information and use it however we want. So it does help you create that data warehouse. Say you are running a program and you have multiple years of data in our case, for example, we have students who enter the Bhumi ecosystem from grade 2, and we want to collect information about their engagement with us and with various programs all the way up till they finish grad, right? So Dalgo as a system can help you do something like that. So we look at it as a way to create our data warehouse where we are storing multi-year, multi-dimensional information, which we can then slice and dice differently to inform us about how we should go forward with our program.
Sure. Yeah.
And then, if you're interested, we can also share a couple of resources for use cases across Dalgo platform that we've seen with our customers. If you can drop us an email in terms of if you're looking for any specific examples, we can share it across with you.
Yeah.
There are a few other questions, but before that, I just want to remind folks to respond to the poll that's up on your screen. That feedback is really helpful for us and it helps us curate better sections for you. So please do engage while you're listening into the Q&A round as well. The question that we have from Shubham is data privacy a concern over here? Ritu, Anusha, either of you want to take that up?
I would just like to quickly talk about how Dalgo ensures data privacy for our clients, and then I would like to invite Anusha to talk about data privacy concerns that Bhumi had, and then how were they resolved. So, in Dalgo, the Dalgo is only a third-party processor um, of your data. So, in terms of DPDP language, Dalgo is a third-party processor. So Dalgo does not have unencrypted access to your beneficiary's personal data. So the data only comes into Dalgo, we transform it, and then we send it back to your warehouse. And the warehouse, or rather the database where your data sits in, all your data sits in, that is completely owned by you. Now you might be wondering, well, we don't have a warehouse, we don't know how to set it up. No worries there. We have helped many organizations to set up their own warehouse, which is a very simple process that can be we can get you up and running in a few clicks, but you take complete ownership of it. We have no ownership of it. So the data completely resides with you still, and we only process it. And in the form of processing, our Dalgo system can know way the data in when it travels from your database to our Dalgo system and then back to maybe your visualization tool or to your database. It is completely encrypted while it's in transition. So there is no concern for data leakage there, and the Dalgo system itself has no access to your unencrypted data. Now, if there are other use cases, of course, we have custom data contracts that we undertake with our clients, as we did with Bhumi. And now I would like to invite Anusha to talk a bit about, from their perspective, how they deal with data privacy concerns.
I don't have much to add to what you said, Ritu. You covered all of it, especially since Dalgo is not storing the data in any way. It kind of takes care of any concerns with respect to privacy. The data warehouse, we own it. It's hosted as per our requirements in a region that we want it hosted in. And we have access to the data warehouse. So there are no data privacy concerns.
Okay, with that, I think that covers all the questions that we have on the chat. Shubham, if you do have a follow-up question to Anusha and Ritu, you can reach out to us and then they can take it individually. I do want to share that Anusha has also offered to share her email to anyone who wants to reach out to her to learn more about her data experience as well as any other questions that you might have with Dalgo. We'll drop it in the chat. You will be able to see it. Do reach out to her if you have any follow-ups. We will be closing up the Q&A session now since we're already at time. What we are going to do is leave up the poll over here for another minute. And before you leave, we'd love for you to engage with the poll once again as a reminder. And do reach out to us to share feedback about how you like the session and what you would like to see next on our upcoming webinars. Ritu and Anusha are also here for another minute in case you want to unmute yourselves and share your experience.
And again, I would like to thank everyone who has attended today. Thank you for your time and thank you for your interest in Dalgo.